Oh, hello there. Yes, well, turned out repressive again, didn't it? Yes. Oh, Jesus. Yesterday there was something my eye came across which left me thinking to myself, my God, have we actually reached this point? I know that 2025 is turning into a year where we are there. I mean, there is the usual nonsense on display. We had Liz Truss in yesterday's Telegraph blaming everybody apart from herself for the last 40 years of, well, governments that she's been part of. We had this, Trump has been proven right about pretty much everything, which I think is news to pretty much everybody, including probably large members of Trump's family. But anyway, net zero, trade with China, COVID lockdowns, mass migration, all have been disastrous, yes, and all things that, of course, Liz Truss was, voting for when she was a member of the government, wasn't she? Wasn't she? Still, never mind that now. She actually has the audacity in this piece to complain bitterly about all those nefarious thoughts at Davos, and of course she did go skiing with them last year. You can't make this stuff up. However, to the nuts and bolts of the day, some of our glorious broadcasters or narrowcasters, or indeed just very nasty individuals that are given a lot of money to spout this stuff, like GB News, have been on a bit of a ride at the moment about all that anti-white racism out there. Mentioned it a few times over the last few days. And it's fine, yeah, you can jump up and down about this if you really, really want to become part of an oppressed majority of people who run everything and have all the money. That's up to you, by all means, if you really want to go there. But yesterday they posted up an interview with Steve Erlington, yes, one of those very nice boys that is drifting forever closer to, well, having a lot of brown shirts in his wardrobe. But an interview with Dougie Carswell. Yes, we always like a good interview with a Douglas because you know full well it's going to come out and just be so out there as to be beyond the pale, and this one certainly is. So they put up a post of about 3 minutes of it. There's a link below to a longer piece if you actually do want to look at it. But it's really worthwhile just going through exactly what the guy is saying here, because it really is something that I can't believe even a few years ago I would be hearing on a sort of mainstream media platform without any sort of real comeback on it at all. Anyway, let's dive into that.
But this is not just about the million or so people living in the country illegally. A significant number of people have come to the country quite legally and are living on welfare. Despite what we were told about the benefits of mass immigration, there's good evidence from the Netherlands that shows that people from non-Western countries, particularly Muslim countries who live in the Netherlands, are throughout the course of their lives, careers I was going to say, but many of them sadly don't seem to have careers. Through the course of their lives, they're a net burden on the Dutch taxpayer.
Yes, well, apologies about the low sound there. I hope that's okay. For some reason, I just can't get that dial to move. Anyway, yes, I do like the way that, yes, the inevitable "these people cost us a lot" line. Odd that he's quoted something or other from Holland. There are a number of studies in the UK, and I sometimes have arguments with people about this. Almost all of the studies that are out there show that migrants to this country bring a net tax revenue, even counting all their dependents. You have to really, really massage the figures to find out otherwise. Still, never mind. Just generally stir the pot there. Douglas, do go on.
We need to apply an assessment, a public interest test, and if you have entered the country as a foreign national, however legally, and you're a net burden on the country, we need to create the mechanism for your removal. And we shouldn't hold back in doing this. There's nothing shameful about this. There's no God-given right that you have to come here and live on our welfare system. And if you're doing so, you must be removed.
Yes, indeed. I mean, imagine if you come to this country and you're working here and you suffer a bad accident, which means that you're laid up for, let's say, 6 months. What then? Do you have to leave? Do you have to hobble off? I don't really know, because if you're living here and paying into the system, then surely you deserve a standard of care, don't you? I guess all that'll just come out in the mix. We obviously wouldn't want to just get rid of people who we just think are migrants and don't really like. I mean, none of this would be based on any form of formal assessment about people's skin colour or their religion, would it be? I mean, you'd have to be going somewhere to be going there. Anyway, do carry on, Dougie.
But then we need to go a step further, Stephen. We need to be prepared to remove people from the country who've been born in Britain, but who want Sharia law. I don't think that people quite understand the gravity of the situation. If you are a Blairite, you believe that the first and second and third generation who arrive in the West will look at the West and gradually assimilate to the West. Now, in most cases, that's true, and notably people from Hindu backgrounds in India, Indian origin, very, very great record of assimilation. People from Western backgrounds. I know there are a lot of people from Malta who came into the country in the 1950s. I would challenge anyone to spot any difference between the lifestyles of their great-grandkids and those of people whose great-grandparents were born in Britain.
Yes, well, there you have it. Let's dice and slice it, shall we? So, in other words, people that were born here, or what's another word for those people? Oh, yeah, British citizens. If we just really don't particularly like their form of religion, then they should just go. As to where, I don't really know. Under international law, you can't realistically deprive people of citizenship. They become stateless, which leads to all sorts of problems. So I'm not really quite sure how that would work out. And I do love the, again, dicing and slicing here between people, because after all, people from the Indian subcontinent are people from the Indian subcontinent, and they contain a wide variety of different views and attitudes, and I think you could easily point at a great number of Indians who are pretty darned intolerant, racist, nasty types, and Hindu nationalists. Should we get rid of them as well? Or is it just that anything that's sort of post-48 that's north of the border is what we don't like? Because, of course, this is what Dougie is doing here, isn't he? Yes, he's making sure that we're pointing the finger in one particular place. And, you know, as for people that come here who are third generation that don't assimilate, I know loads and loads of British people that hold really obnoxious views that are, you know, nth generation. Should we get rid of them just for their views, after all? Because that's basically what this guy is talking about. He's talking about removing people because of their views. There is nothing more personalised in terms of views than somebody's religion. It's the ultimate choice that you have, isn't it? Yeah? Jay.
But there is an issue to do with Muslim assimilation. And it goes to the heart of, I think, some of the metaphysical beliefs of Islam. And if people from Muslim backgrounds are not willing to accept certain prerequisites for being a citizen in the West, then I think we need the mechanism to take away their citizenship. If they believe in anti-Semitic dogma, they should be removed. I noticed that in the United States this week, they have just changed the rules so that if you have exhibited anti-Semitic behavior, you will be denied a visa, lose your visa, and lose your residency rights. We need a similar approach. If you are maybe even a second or third generation Briton, but you believe that people who abandon their faith shouldn't have the freedom of belief and must be put to death for abandoning their faith, then I think you must also lose your British nationality, your British passport, because you're not really British, are you? You're just, you're a foreigner living under Britain's passport of convenience. And I think we need to amend the 1981 Nationality Act to strip you of your citizenship and remove.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. You see, we can just, people like me, people like you probably, can just go somewhere else, can't we, if they don't like this country. But you notice that this is a guy, a bit like Liz Truss, who really doesn't like his country, a bit like all of those commentators on GB News, a bit like Steve and the rest of them. They just hate this country, and yet they want to morph it into their own particular vision of perfect, which just involves people like them. Now, I don't mind anyone having any views, but that, I think, makes me particularly British. I think people should be allowed to have any views they want, up to and including ones that in their heads might break the law. But what Douglas is suggesting here is basically stuff that is ethnic cleansing. Yeah? It's thought police. Yeah, it's the boys coming to the door because they don't really like what you put up about Israel on Facebook. Yeah, all of those things we hear about that are dreadful, that can't happen. And isn't it awful that the lefties are doing this? And here it is. It's just straightforward ethno-nationalism. And I'm being polite about it at that point. It ticks all the boxes of basically a fascist state, whereby we can have serious hierarchies of people, and you'd better not criticise the groups that are in power, lest we take away your rights as a human being, because in effect that's what that means. Still, you can ring it in from the States, can't you, Dougie? Eh? Yeah. I'm starting to really deeply resent these people telling me how I should live my life. I don't suggest what Dougie does in Mississippi. If he wants to live in a rural backwater like that, he's welcome to it, and they're welcome to him. But I don't want these foreigners ringing in telling me how I should live my life. Thank you very much. Anyway, unbelievable, absolutely astounding. And none of this is treated as though it's anything in any way, shape or form unreasonable. Whereas, of course, it is unreasonable to have a DEI programme that, ensures that the coppers aren't simply all white guys with a bit of an attitude problem. Do have a lovely one if you can. And remember, if there's a knock at the door, it probably won't be the milkman. No, it'll probably be the postie. Yeah, probably.